Welcome to the Retirement Lifestyle Show. I'm your co-host, Roshan Loungani, here as always with Adrian Nicholson. It's great to be back in 2025 and recording. Adrian, how was your holidays, end of the year? How'd it go for you?
Everything was fantastic, and it felt like that was the longest break we've ever taken from the podcast. So, more than ever, I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, I think it definitely was the longest break that we've ever taken. And uh, you had your honeymoon. So how was the trip?
It was great. First time traveling internationally to Jamaica. It was fantastic. We stayed at a great resort by the water, great restaurants. So, it was awesome. Then spent the holidays in Maine. So, it was good just to take some time off before coming into the new year and just starting it out.
Yeah, gosh, yeah, that has to be one nice to get away, and especially get away from the cold, right? For a for about a week, right? You were gone.
Yeah, exactly. And I just always, when I take time off, it's always just good time just to reflect, see what the new year is going to look like, just, focus a lot on family, friends. So that's just a good way for me to get ready for the new year, which we're in right now. And like I said, it's so good to be back on the Retirement Lifestyle Show. I'm looking forward to our discussions, our episodes this year. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, as am I. Let's jump right in to the
Yeah, and
topic for the
before we
day.
jump right in, if you're streaming this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you could probably see our new logo. Roshan's on the left, I'm on the right. So a lot of new things coming to your way, our listeners and viewers. And like I said, really looking forward to all the topics that we're going to be discussing and all the podcasts that we're going to have this year, Roshan. I definitely want to point our listeners and viewers to something very valuable that I think it's going to be extremely helpful for them this year, which is our website, theretirementlifestyleshow.com. That's our website. I think it's just a great place to start, especially at the end of the year, because there's an awesome search tool at the top of the page that can take you to episodes, whatever you're interested in. So let's just say this year you're going to be very focused on retirement planning. Just go to the top. Again, the website's retirementlifestyleshow.com. And at the top, there's a search bar where you can look up any topic you're interested in. So let's just say it's a retirement planning. Go to the top, type in retirement planning, and then boom, there are our retirement planning episodes. You can go ahead and click on any thumbnail that you see, and more than likely, there'll be a video or it'll take you to where you can stream it. And then right there is a topic with a lot of valuable information on there that we can talk about for retirement planning. I mean, you can search whatever you want, whatever you're interested in, whether it's retirement planning, investing, taxes, estate planning, personal finances, real estate, cryptocurrency, whatever it is that you may have a specific focus on this year. I think that's a great place to start. What do you think, Roshan?
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because we've had that website for years, and I think we don't talk about it enough. So, great point, Adrian. Please check out the our website, retirementlifestyleshow.com. And as Adrian said, you can search for and find any topics of interest.
And yes, the information may be a little dated. I mean, you could go and type in real estate, and there might be a podcast that we recorded back in 2020. But each episode, I think, really deep down has some good information and good concepts that can be applied to today. So that's why I think it's just a really great place for you because, again, to our listeners and viewers, some of the topics that we may talk about on this podcast may not apply to you, but I bet if you go to our website, search something that you may find very valuable or more specific to you or something that you're interested in and want to work towards this year, go to our website, find an episode, and I'm sure you can find some valuable information that can help you out this year in 2025.
Yeah, I completely agree. We've got so much out there. It's at this point, what do you have, 5 years worth of episodes up there, I think.
So 2019, so technically six, even though we just
6 years.
started the new year. But again, a
Yeah.
lot of information, a lot of great podcast episodes. We brought some guests on the podcast as well. So a lot of valuable information that you can utilize this year to help whatever it is that you want to focus on and achieve this year, which is awesome. And we are diversified across a lot of different platforms. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, you name it, we're out there. And if you have time, please subscribe. If you're on YouTube, it's simple. Just click to subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give us a rating. It'll really help people discover the episode. And if you find our content very helpful, or there's an episode or a topic that you think we can talk about that will relate to you, or you just want to have a conversation with us, also on our website is a schedule conversation button in the top right-hand corner. You can pick whatever co-host you want to schedule time on our calendar, and then we can just have a conversation. We're always here to help. That's what we want to make sure you know about going into this year, because sometimes people have a lot of questions, or maybe on the off chance you do use our search bar and you can't find the topic that you're looking for, we'd be more than happy to help or have a podcast episode on it. I'd be shocked if there was a topic that we really haven't talked much about, because again, like you said, Roshan, 6 years and over 200 plus podcast episodes. We pretty much talked about it all, but that doesn't stop us from coming up with new topics. That's for sure.
Right. And actually, that does bring up another point. If you've got ideas on topics you'd like for us to cover, or if you didn't find it in the search bar, reach out to us. All of our contacts and information is available in the show notes and the bios on the website. So we are here to help.
Yeah, I'm wondering if somebody will say, "Hey, how have you guys never talked about this topic before?" And like my mind's blown. Like, how could we miss that? 200 plus
Yes.
episodes, but that'd be impressive. But yeah, that's just a lot of information that we just wanted to just put in the front of this episode, because again, we want to make sure that whatever your needs are, whatever questions that you are, we can just point you straight to an episode that can hopefully give you some advice going into this year. Because at the start of the year, start of the month, January, you look at your own situation and say, what do I need to do this year? So once 2026 starts, I'm in a better place.
Yeah, yeah, and very much the New Year's a time. A lot of people look at this and feel like they need to do something about it. We've already gotten a bunch of calls already, and we're just a few days into the new year.
Yeah, exactly. So the topic I have today, I'm just going to call it the starting five for 2025. This is just some advice and some tips that I have. It's just a good way to start. This could be a super deep conversation or it could be a super short one. It doesn't really matter, but these are just 5 tips and advice that I have just to start off the new year and just start off on a good foot. Like you said, it's just a good time. Maybe during the holidays, the past couple months or so, you did a lot of reflecting, you did a lot of goal setting, and now you're at a point where you just want to make sure you start off on the best possible foot. These are some tips and advice that I have. So I'm looking forward to this discussion, Roshan. And are you ready for me to start out with number one?
Yeah, what's number one?
Simplify for success. And this is something that's on my list, and it's very important for me to prioritize as well, where sometimes it's good just to prioritize a few tasks, a few things that you want to do. Because if you have a lot on your plate, especially in the beginning of the year, you could find yourself, one, not achieving what you want and stretching yourself thin. Yes, there are people out there that are great multitaskers. So it's good to have a lot of things out there that you're trying to accomplish, but sometimes it's good just to simplify things, focus on a few things, and just knock those out as best you can and complete them. However way you see fit is a good way to just build up some momentum at the start of the year. Wouldn't you think, Roshan?
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I like that. I feel like that simplify things. It said simplify for success. I think that can apply. The simplification factor can apply to everything.
Yeah, a lot of different areas. It's not just solely focused to retirement, investing, financial planning, whatever it is. It's just a good way for you to incorporate it into your routine the best way that you can. Because again, the one thing that I want to point out is stretching yourself too thin. And sometimes that can become very overwhelming. That process can become very emotional, and that could keep you from achieving some things that you plan for at the start of the year, where I think that's a good place to start. Simplify things so you can be successful. Prioritize the more important things on your list and just go at it and focus at it. And it's a good way to, like I mentioned, build up that momentum at the start of the year.
Yeah, there's a quote. I'm trying to remember who it's by, but it's something like simplicity is the other side of complexity, with the concept being if you know something so well, uh, you can simplify it either an explanation or really you know it so well it's simple for you.
Hmm. And focus too. So one of these things that I learned, and it's pretty helpful, it's this test that people try just to see how focusing on one or two things works. So how the test works is you take a person, you sit them in a chair, and then there's two people on both sides, and they both have a book. It's a short book, like a children's book. So you have a person sitting in a chair, one person's on one side, the other person's on the other side, and both those people at the same time read the book. And then once they're done reading the book, the person that's in the chair has to say what both stories are. And they do this test a lot. And most of the times, the person in the chair can only recite about 25% of each story. Where if you just took one story, the person was sitting in the chair and listened to one story, they can recite the whole thing. But when you have two things going out at the same time, you can only retain so much information. Yes, there is a possibility that you might be able to retain it all and accomplish it. But again, that just really shows sometimes how the mind works and how people work, where if you can just focus on one thing, keep it simple, you can achieve it, and then move on to the next thing, which moves on to my next advice, number 2, which is daily wins. Start off each day with a small goal to build momentum. That's a key word that we're going to be using a lot this year, momentum. So you wake up in the morning, you have a task or something that you want to achieve that you know you can do within a certain day. And that's just a great way to have those small wins, those daily wins that can create a lot of positivity and success in your life and make you feel good about yourself. And I think that's very important to sometimes focus on the positive, the daily wins, the things that go right, other than the negative things, because again, that just does a lot for your well being in the end.
Yeah, that's a great one. I really like that as well.
Yeah, so 1 and 2 kind of bounce off of each other, incorporate well with each other, simplify for success, and those daily wins. Those are something that you can incorporate right away in your daily life that I think, is super helpful for you. Simplify for success, where you prioritize a few tasks and trying to complete those tasks. And those will be your daily wins. And that will carry a lot of momentum maybe into the next day, the week, the month, so you can start achieving some of those goals that you might have set at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I like both of these. What's the third one?
Review goals. So whether these are old goals that you had at previous years, whether there's some right now that you're currently working on to achieve, make sure you review them. Make sure if you have a plan in place, you adjust that plan if you need to, so it aligns with the goals if there have been any significant changes in your lifestyle in the near future. I think that's very good because, as we know, as humans, as time goes on, our lives are always changing. Things change. Whether they're small or big, things do change. So making sure that whatever plan that you have in place incorporates those change so you're able to achieve those goals. So review your goals and then look at your plan just to see if there's anything that you need to make some small changes to or big changes to, so you're still on the path to accomplishing it at the end of the day.
And how frequently would you review goals?
It depends on the person. It really, as long as you're doing it, whatever time frame it is, that's fine by me, as long as you don't really set it and forget it. But I always like addressing the opposite side. Sometimes you can set it and forget it and you'll be all right in the end, but that might not be the case. What would you say?
I don't know. This is one where I'll tell you I set my goals annually. I formally review them, and when I say set them annually, I probably say it takes me a few hours to do. Right, so I actually spend time, real time on it. Review it, then that same exercise for a couple hours every 6 months. And then I have on my agenda to look at it daily, which I definitely would, I would, I do not look at it daily. I sure weeks go by at times, a week at least, maybe a couple weeks before I review it. So that's one I struggle with, which is why I asked about the frequency. So I guess My short answer would be I don't review it enough. And I know that trying to review it daily, I'm not successful at. So I was wondering if you had a trick or a thought on how to make sure I get it done, or what frequency you'd recommend.
As long as it's a frequency that you can commit to and that's
Mm-hmm.
achievable and that's realistic, I think that's the answer.
Okay.
So I'll
Excellent.
move
What's
on to the fourth one, which is
mhm.
automated all this year, especially when you come to the beginning of the year. Automate. This can be with savings. Automate your savings every time you get paid or every time you have income come in. Have it go into savings, any type of system that you can set up where it's automatic, where you don't have to go back and do it, which is the answer I just gave you, Roshan, something that you can commit to and you can always do it. If you feel like that's not something you can do, automate it. So it's not something that you'll have to worry about that gets slipped through and you forget about it and it's not done later on in the year. So you
Well,
can
I'll tell you
automate
this.
savings or expenses.
Well, I'll tell you this, right after this podcast, I will definitely be reviewing it. So at least I'll get one review in for the day or the week. Right.
Better than
But yes.
nothing. Better than
Yes.
nothing.
Yes. Agreed. And I do agree with automating it. And I'll tell you, it's going back to three of reviewing your goals. Where I struggle with that is I try to put it on the calendar and then review it at that time. But then something more important will come up and I'll push it back. So I think I think you said it well when you said it's got to be a time frame you'll actually commit to. And I think that's where I've got to figure that out. But not to take us back to number three, I do like automating things just because like the savings, for example, you might have every intention to do it every pay period, and similar to my reviewing goals, you just didn't have time to type it in and process it. Well, that's something that's so easy to automate that you can take the task off your plate and it'll just do it by itself if you go in and just set up a recurring deposit uh, to the savings account or
Mhm.
investment account.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And an investing tip as well, which I put in this automate category. And maybe you can talk about this more in depth with our viewers and listeners today, because I think this is a helpful thing you can do in the investing world is a dividend reinvestment.
Yeah, that's a good one as well, where it falls right in line with your automate. Do you want to explain what that is to everybody listening?
So this is where you use a dividends or income that you receive from an investment or an asset that you have. And again, you don't have to do anything. It's automatic where it buys more shares of the investment. Regardless of the price, it just does it on a frequency when that dividend or income comes in. And it's a great way to compound growth over time, which is that's the catchphrase. That's the thing that people talk about when it comes to investing, that compound growth where that generates so much wealth over time if you can commit to it and stick at it.
Yeah,
Any other
excellent.
tips or anything else that you would want to add to dividend reinvestment? Something I don't think we've talked about before on this podcast, but again, 200 plus episodes. I could be wrong. It could have been mentioned once.
No, I like that automation. I like both examples of the savings and the dividend reinvestment plan. I'm trying to think of other things that you can automate to make it easier for yourself.
Bill
Um,
payments. That's another one.
Built it's another good one. Yeah, a lot of it's financial. When we mentioned this, the bill payment and everything else, I'm just wondering what other areas of your life are there things you can automate. Like I know putting on the schedule. I think of exercise and the gym, and you can go in, put it on your schedule to go in, but then it's just like my goal exercise. You can't necessarily automate that because you then still have to actually do it, right? So what do you have any other examples of things that can be done for you versus you having to do something?
Well, I got to imagine with how artificial intelligence is continuing to grow, there's some type of system or some type of software application out there that can help you automate or give you certain reminders to do things. Maybe that could be a way for you to keep with that gym thing that you mentioned. Just have like a reminder that keeps sending you things like constantly. So even though it's not automating, where you think of something that can just be done for you, where you won't have to do anything. Reminders as well could be something that can help you out this year. But I can't think of any more off the top of my hand. But I guess what I would say for this last one, for automate what you can. Just figure out anything that you can do right away today and go for it.
Yeah, and you know what, that this is not really automate, but it is in the same vein, but reminders, right? Like that's what I think when you said when you were describing the gym thing, it's really getting those reminders. And I'm going to say it differently, not necessarily reminders, but keep it top of mind. I think that's the value of reviewing your goals, is you keep them top of mind. And I think if you can't automate something, but you want to do it, if you keep it top of mind, you will. And these reminders you just mentioned, which are very easy to put in your calendar or your phone, can help with that.
I agree, which moves us on to the last tip that I have for this podcast episode as we're coming to end here, which is something that we talked about before, but first month of the year, it's always a good one. Revisit your allocation when it comes to your investments in your portfolio to make sure that it's balanced and aligned with your goals for the year. And that's something crucial that we've talked about probably a lot of times on this podcast. And it's just a good thing just to start off the year and look at. So your risk, your portfolio, everything's in line for 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. And just sharing a story with us and what we do. That's what I spent the first 4 days of the year doing for all my clients across the board. Getting everything rebalanced and in line for them. So as Adrian said, revisit your allocation and rebalance your portfolios. And if you need help, aren't sure what to do, we're here to help with that as well. So please reach out to us if you need help. But I love these starting 5 that Adrian shared. I'm just going to read each of them back to you. And Adrian, if you have anything to add along the way, let me know. Number 1, simplify for success. Number 2, daily wins. Number 3, review goals. Number 4, automate it all. And number 5, revisit your investment allocation.
Yes, let's make 2025 a year of progress and smart decisions, and we'll be back in the future with some great episodes.
Yes, to a great 2025 for everyone. Keep control and achieve your goals.
Schedule a conversation with Roshan, Adrian, or Erik today at retirementlifestyleshow.com. Roshan and Erik are certified financial planner practitioners. They, along with Adrian, are investment advisor representatives and serve clients across the U.S. with financial planning and investment advice through Arete Wealth. If you found this show helpful, gained knowledge, or enjoyed the time you spent with us, tell your friends and leave us a 5-star review. This will help others discover the show. To access our show notes, to download any of the tools mentioned in today's podcast, to ask us a question, or to schedule a conversation, go to retirementlifestyleshow.com. All opinions expressed by podcast hosts and guests are solely their own. While based on information they believe is reliable, neither Arete Wealth nor its affiliates warrants its completeness or accuracy, nor do their opinions reflect the opinion of Arete Wealth. This podcast is for general informational purposes only and should not be regarded as specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Before making any decisions, consult a professional. The show hosts offer investment advice through Arete Wealth Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor, and securities through Arete Wealth Management, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, and NFA. Finally, our music is The Chance by Jason Shaw in Audionautics. It's part of the YouTube audio library, and it's licensed under a Creative Commons license. I am Ray Voices. Thank you for listening.